The Uncontrollables. Outrageous? Sometimes. Thoughtful? Maybe. Offensive? Probably. Fabulous? Always. All right, we're on episode 13, the best number in the world, lucky 13, episode 13 of The Uncontrollables. Tonight, we promise to have a really fun episode. It's probably going to be the most professional and information-filled and most backed episode we've ever had. But we've got Josh Featherstone with us.
Hello, how are we doing tonight?
And now we also have Chris
Warner.
Warner. I can't see because Emily messed up my giant projector
That's
screen,
all right.
and I can't see things.
Obviously,
so.
your pre-show research should have possibly included his name.
No, it's the most common misspelled last names. I get Wagner, I get Warren, and I get many other names. But folks don't like the Warner name. I'm not sure. I would think they would like the Bugs Bunny name, but they look at me and say, "No, you're not a Warner."
So it's Chris Warner. And basically, I guess the one way to sum up what you do is you're a security architect.
That's correct.
Well, how would you describe exactly what your skill set is?
Well, it's actually kind of interesting that you would ask me that because my skill set has been essentially learned from so many different facets of life. So, I could start with mom, but, I'll fast forward under a time duration. The Air Force gave me a test, and they had me, fill out certain answers and stuff, and they came up with electronic warfare for me, which actually turned into cyber warfare, and I just always had this knack for security. So I got into information assurance, which the National Security Agency still actually holds that title to this day, and then obviously, information security started getting ramping up popular, and now we have cybersecurity. So, really, if you want to boil it down, I am a security purist. So, when I go out on dates, I say I work in security. They either think I'm a security guard or I work for national security. So, you run the gamut of the whole spectrum of security.
All right. So this ought to be interesting. Basically, what we're going to talk about tonight is a little bit about the government and the internet, CISPA, piracy, security, things like that. We'll probably jump in a little bit of everything, really. Going through your LinkedIn profile and everything else, there's a huge plethora of things that are just we could really go through. So we're going to talk about just all kinds of fun stuff, and we're really going to pick your brain, judging by the LinkedIn profile we're seeing here. And I was taking a look at it earlier. You've kind of been everywhere, done everything, and there's probably things you can't talk to us about, which is always fun. So, and I guess we were talking before the show, and I had a security clearance, nothing like yours, I'm sure, and worked at a nuke base and with PRP, secret clearance level, all that stuff. And I had some friends that went a little higher than that. So,
I'm sure. And I actually appreciate that. But you know what? One of the things I say is that every security clearance is the same because we all go through the same process.
Right. And it's a horrible process.
Yes.
It's horrible to have a clearance.
They rip you apart, don't they?
Well,
and you were on PRP, so that's way different. I don't care if someone has a TSSCI with a polygraph. If you're on PRP, way different. And if you're not in the Air Force and don't handle what we call cloud pleaser weapons, then you may not have experienced that. So sorry, those guys out there.
Right. All right. So I guess the first thing we kind of want to touch on a little bit is really just kind of talk about CISPA for a minute. I know it's quieted down again, but it's going to come back. They hit CISPA a couple years ago, and it didn't go anywhere. There was a huge outpouring on the internet against CISPA, and then it came back, and it never made it through the Senate. It stalled, died, never even went to vote, thankfully. It passed the House, so that's scary in and of itself.
Well, it's not the first time it's popped up. It's going to pop up again. This is going to be one of those bills that you see over and over and over again. They're going to be relentless with it until they get what they want.
Right.
Yeah, that's true. It was introduced to the House by Mike Rogers. I believe he's a Republican from Michigan. And that was done actually, I think, in November of 2011. So, and that, and that's fine. We actually appreciate folks that actually go out there and try to raise awareness, because one of the biggest things, like one of my colleagues said, Kevin Mitnick, which used to be the most wanted hacker on earth, he says that the weakest link is just not understanding security and not having an appreciation for it. So, it was passed fairly well, but it didn't make it to the levels that it needed to be, because it got the awareness of the Electronic Frontier Foundation as well as the American Civil Liberties, of course, the free press, and so on. So, there's a lot of folks out there that are fairly concerned about the fact that this act was actually targeting the companies to instill their own version or their own authority in being able to grab your personal information and share it with U.S. intelligence agencies. And being the fact that I've worked for several of those intelligence agencies and worked for those companies that would actually, be able to grab that, what we call in the industry PII or PII, which is personal identifiable information, which could be anything from a name to an address or anything that identifies you, where you live, where you work, or what your name is, where you're born on, or hopefully not your social security number, but they already have it. So it's very concerning, and this is a huge topic for folks to be aware of.
All right. And so it's... And with your profession and everywhere you've been and we've talked about, we'll for the listeners, we'll get a little bit more into that, and you'll find out more as we go on. What do you think? I mean, there's already a lot of internet security stuff out there. I mean, they're already gathering boatloads of information. A lot of these big companies already give information up to the government whenever they ask for it. I mean, some of the bigger organizations do it willy-nilly, freely. What do you think is going to be the next thing? Do you think they're going to try to pass something bigger, smaller, or are they going to do something where they pass a skeleton bill and just get that through and then go haywire? I mean, what would CISPA really add on top of what the government already has?
Well, that's actually an interesting question. So, first of all, I had to thank you for having me on the show tonight. I didn't get a chance to, since we had some exciting activities before the show. I didn't get a chance to thank you for having me on the show tonight, but I want to actually say that we actually need, as a public, to become aware of what we do online. And that's one of the biggest things. That when everybody's got a Facebook account and they have email, they may have a cable system where they can watch certain shows online. Whether you watch them online or you watch them through your cable box, they're still monitored. Every type of transmission electronic is monitored. I don't care if it's legal or not legal, it's still monitored, because they look for certain keywords. They look for bomb, tank, gun. They look for those words. Those words get put in a database. The database gets put in front of an administrator. The administrator looks at that information and decides whether it's a threat or not. So whether there's a bill that passes it to be able to access your information or not, it's still there for certain information. But it's a government-controlled entity of data that has the over-regulatory controlled facet of a judge or a counsel that appeals to that certain threat. What this act was trying to do with CISPA was to let the companies, the private companies, the think tanks, think about this. It's not just the companies that you would think of, like, McDonald's or GM or Ford or whatever. I mean, these are just like normal companies that have your name because you're a creditor, or let's say an energy company that has your name, address, social security number, where you live, how much energy that you use at your house, when you're home or not home. I mean, you have to think of those type of things. You're using energy, like smart grid is like a big term right now. They know when you're home and not at home. So, when you're using information and energy out of your house, there's tons of information that can be used against you. And folks, as American citizens, really, you need to be aware of this type of footprint that you present, because all you do is broadcast an attack vector that's easily accessible by a nation state to a script kiddie. A nation state could be China, Russia, a mob, anyone, or a script kiddie, which is essentially a bedroom hacker. So we have to be careful what we put out there on the internet, and we have to hold those private companies responsible for the information they take from us, because it could be used against us easily.
Right. I've got a couple questions about what you just said. First off,
Sure.
You started off at the beginning talking about how we're constantly being monitored. Are we being monitored because our information is being handed over, or are we being monitored because the government's being intrusive and digging in and getting that information, or is it somewhere in between there?
It's in between, because they're not digging in per se, although that I've seen both sides of everything. Being a former veteran, as well as a government employee and a private sector employee and a global employee, I've seen both ends of the spectrum, and what it comes down to is really a certain set of goals that you need to learn for yourself. So if you order things offline at Amazon, don't have it delivered to your house. If someone cold calls you with information, those are the small things. So let's get back to this question. Are you being looked at? Yes, you are. You're being looked at by everyone. There is absolutely no deterrent when it comes to putting information on the internet. Everyone looks at it. So one of the biggest things I say right now in security is why are you posting your social items every day to Facebook or any other, Twitter, what else, MySpace, and what else is out there? Anything that you put on the internet, it's saved. And even worse so, if you do it by your phone, it's not only saved by the internet, it's also saved by the phone company. So you need to be careful about what you do and put out there on the internet. And it has nothing to do with opinions. Think about putting pictures of your children, your best friends, where you work, where you live. You're just putting a footprint out there for someone to attack you to. It's easy. You have to start thinking about a burglar that only attacks you in a certain ways. You need to start worrying about a hacker. I could protect 1,000 doors, but the hacker needs one door to get in, and he will get in. We now need to take the posture of the fact that you will be attacked. Period. You will be attacked. All the statistics, I see it from Department of Homeland Security to companies like Verizon Security and CSC, some very heavy weights in the industry, HP. These guys are looking at the facts of how we are attacked in this nation, and you will be attacked. I don't care if you're a company, a nation state, a state like Indiana, you will be attacked. There are groups out there that have the power, the knowledge, and the time to do it. So we have to take the posture that we will be attacked, and this is how we deal with it.
Okay. Well, a lot of the internet kids and people have been kind of playing around on the internet for a while. They understand that the general populace maybe doesn't. I guess most people be listening to this show, and libertarians and such would understand that line of thinking. Now, I'm under the assumption a lot of people and political people and anarchists, they want to hide information. They don't like to share a lot of personal information. I personally put every last bit of personal information I have out there. It's I'm kind of one of those people, I go the full-bore opposite. I know I can't hide because I'm lazy. So I go full-bore, and I just put a load of everything out there.
But that's a tactic, though. That's actually a security tactic.
Right, and it's one of those things where I'm going to try to hide in plain sight the best I can, where if I disappear or something happens, there's so much information about me, it'd be hard to lie.
Now we're getting into the philosophy. If you actually put all that out there, then you're an open book, and no one's going to pull a skeleton out of your closet. But I wish I could do that, but unfortunately, the government made me sign certain things about this, that, and the other. But
there's always little skeletons. I mean, there's always little things that I'm pretty sure if anybody ever found out, I'd be in jail for a very, very, very long time.
Exactly.
But they'll never know. It's flesh rots and it decays and it gets washed away. So
that's called It's actually a tactic I learned from some guys when I was working at Department of Energy when I taught the Delta Force guys. It's called side angle side. If you put information out there that floods the folks that are listening, then they can't cipher through what you give them in a timely manner to attack you. So you have to think of it from a security purist standpoint. And I've been doing this for 20 years. I've been a hacker since I was in 5th grade. I changed my grades in high school. There wasn't anything that could stop me on a computer. And so dealing with that, what I learned was it's not the fact that I could be better at you at a computer. It's the fact that I could be a social engineer and call you and be nice to you, and I'll get your password within like 2 minutes. I can be nice to you. I can be a certain way. It's still, the thing is that everybody's scared of the computer, the internet, and that's great. Be advised of what you put on the internet. But I think it also boils down to the fact that some of the folks don't have the certain appreciation for what they actually do and their choices in giving information to certain people. Because if you think about it, think about the they used to call them like what? Snake salesman or snake oil salesman.
Snake oil,
yeah. They used to come around and, be all this and that and the other. Now they come along with the computers and folks tell, certain tales with this way or that way. It still boils down to the human factor of how you want to live your life and what you deal with. But the problem is that the folks that are actually making the decisions on the internet and the information that's stored out there, they force you to actually be a part of that system, and you have no choice to be against it or for it. You just know that your information is out there and it's being sold, it's being transmitted, and it's being, sent across unsecured lines. And really, at this point, I'd have to bring the payment card industry, the PCI guys, into this thing. You run a credit card at a place, boom, I know where you're at, what you had to eat, and how much you paid for it. So that type of information has to be stored in a certain facet. And I would say that the majority of institutions out there actually don't do that.
Well, it's
how do we protect our privacy? It's
right.
Getting very scary.
That's going to be the next question. Is in this day and age, with the government building that new fusion center out in Utah, that's going to basically store, it's going to run teraflops of information through there, or with processing power to pull, terabytes and terabytes and terabytes of information on everybody, store it, and then run processing systems through it to, pull out the keywords or whatever and make connections, automated. What's the best way to, do you have any suggestions for, programs like PeerBlock or something like that, or maybe using Tor browsers? What do you suggest people do to not just not be online would be the best, I guess, technically, but, what kind of programs and little things would you recommend people could do to protect themselves?
All right, here's the program. Move to Vegas and only pay cash for everything. Okay, that's number 1. 2, if you can't move to Vegas, then what we're going to do is I'll give you a top 20 items that you should do to secure your life, secure your identity online, but I'll have to post it to our host's website. So I can't give it to you over the air, but I'll post it to a website that you would like.
Yeah, if you give me the info tonight, I'll build up a web page. And okay. And I'll have you post that on there, and then that'll be all the information.
Just to give an idea, what we would post is the simple fact that if you order online items, don't have it delivered to your house. That's number 1. 2, if someone cold calls you or a utility calls you, they have no right to take 2 forms of your identity. They store that, and that's what the CISPA was going to pass. And you will know when a next bill passes when you go and get your electric bill, your cable, your gas, utilities, water, whatever. And I just ran into this too. I had an issue where I live over at Geist on the information that they gathered. They called me and said, do you live at this address, and is this your name? And like, you cold called me. I don't recognize the number, and you're asking me for 2 different informations that would identify me under the regulation like FISMA or personal identifiable information. So what you have to do is be very precautious of what information that you give out there. And probably one of the biggest things is just awareness right now. So I would love to give you guys a top 20 list and put it on your guys' website. And I actually have that, and that's something that we've been developing for a while. So I think it would actually help out your listeners very much.
So why don't we get Amazon delivered to our house?
Because once you put that address into the system, everyone knows your address. They know what you order. And from there, they take your address and they have your name and they find out what county you're born in. They get your social security number. From there, they will delete you and you no longer are alive.
Well, that's definitely good information for a lot of people out there. Me, like I said, me personally, for everybody out there, everyone's out there, my social security number was stolen 3 different times in the military. My social security number's on, I think, a couple thousand documents floating around, probably in somebody's backseat of their car. So I'm personally not going to heed the warnings, but that's actually a really good idea to ship something not to your home address, because it's, an Amazon account. That's not too hard to break into. Or, people, then they sign up to Amazon with their Yahoo account, and they have all their information on Yahoo, and then...
So at what point, how all right, so I don't have them ship it to my house. I remove that one step, basically, but which is name plus address.
Exactly.
How hard is it for somebody to gather that information anyway?
It's always a spy versus spy. You look at the information that someone can get. You're always on the offensive, and everybody's like, No, you're on the defensive. Well, I don't take that approach. I'm going to manage my security risk, okay? I look at my posture on the internet, okay? I'm a security purist, if you will, and folks know me as a security guy. So I'm out there. I get hacked all the time. I've lost tens of thousands of dollars in my bank account because I post online my resume as an information security guy. So, my bank has certain precautions to allow for certain things that happen. And once you start traveling as a international cybersecurity expert, folks pay attention to that. So really, it's your posture in your lifestyle. So if you make lifestyle decisions on putting out your name and address and phone number and constantly using the same credit card, there's no reason that you have to do that. You can actually call your bank and have them assign you a debit card that's not associated with your checking account. It can be separated. You can also use a True Blue credit card that's not linked to your checking account, a non-debit card, and you can have certain provisions on that. They can only be allowed to buy from certain vendors or retailing institutions. So you can put controls on how the money is actually spent. And one of the things I've learned is actually just change my checking account number, because I learned my lesson the hard way when I was deployed overseas. And somehow, I guess someone got a check, routing number, bank account number, and then just pulled off of that. And that's old school hacking. It had nothing to do with the internet. They just got some numbers, and they knew the routing number of my banking because I was in the military, so they figured what bank I used, bam, 10 grand they got. But I was insured, luckily, for that. But everybody can be a victim, and it's very hard. But you know what? If you can manage what you have in your life by monitoring your checking account, banking account, credit cards, and what comes in and out of your house, then already you're 99% ahead of everybody else out there.
Do you find an added security value, a true value to using those prepaid credit cards that you can
definitely.
You can dump cash on, you don't have to tie
Definitely.
a name to? Because I have a couple friends. I'm gonna drop a name here. He never listens, but Jesse Riddle, he's a member of the LP out in Henry County, and he constantly, I think that's all he does now. He puts cash onto one of those little prepaid credit cards, then goes out to Silvertown and buys a bunch of silver with it.
Nice.
So
that reminds me of some folks in Nevada I know, because I was a libertarian out in Nevada. So, oh yeah, I'm all about that. I'm actually a part of. I've actually been witness to folks that go in with a hat and glasses on and buy the prepaid credit card with cash. They don't see their face, and they go out and buy their own thing. Well, yeah, that can be misconstrued. It doesn't matter. However, we protect our rights as Americans to go in and buy a credit card that's prepaid and go and pay our bills. That's fine.
That's not really paranoid either, because there's stories here in Indiana even of old ladies, 60, 70-year-old old ladies. They have their faces, their credit card history, everything in the store because they bought too much cold medicine, and they're like, you bought 4 packs of it instead of the limited of 3, so you're making meth, aren't you? And they're just, they had 2 family members get sick.
So why not just use cash?
Well, no, they still have their face, and they still mark it down.
You're talking about taking the cash and going and buying the prepaid credit cards. Why not just spend the cash? I mean,
well,
is it just a safety
if you're
thing?
Spending
you don't have that much. I understand the online payments, but I'm talking if you're walking into your local shop, why go to the trouble of getting the card and using it instead of just using cash?
Well,
in your
you're
pocket?
using counterfeit money, you can go to a Kroger. They're not going to check that.
No, and there's actually a lot of counterfeit dollar bills floating around right now.
I've actually went to buy something once.
Singles?
Well, not singles.
I just met with the Secret Service folks, and there's tons of singles here that are counterfeit. So,
I've actually tried to spend a counterfeit bill once. I didn't realize it was counterfeit. I'd gotten change for 100, went to try to spend 320s, and one of them was a counterfeit. And I was like,
most of the time,
what the hell?
I'm in retail, or a form of retail industry, and so I see a lot of cash transactions, and the majority of the time when there's anything that resembles something counterfeit, I don't doubt that the person had no idea. That they're probably not the first person to handle it. They may not even be the second or third. They just happen to be the person that tried to spend it someplace that started looking into it.
No, that's true. That's true. And the fact is that we do not, unfortunately, here in the lovely state of Indiana, we don't have the cash factor like my former state, Nevada, Las Vegas has. Because every dollar they took in, they would shred it because they have those capabilities. They don't. They mark the bills, and then it goes into the system. I'll say on the radio, it goes into a system there, and they shred them, and new bills are printed. However, we don't have the cash turnaround in this area, unfortunately. So we do see a lot of old bills, and actually, I luckily, I was just in a meeting with the U.S. Secret Service, and what they were saying was the fact that, certain areas of the country have bills that turn over fine, everything is good, but the high turnover places, they shred the bills that are fake or whatever, older, but we don't have that here. So a lot of folks pay with things on credit, and that's a problem. So it's hard to actually manage a physical bill compared to a electronic footprint. And I think that's just another problem here that we have to discuss tonight.
All right. We'll kind of move on to maybe a little bit something different. It's something I'm really into, and I've been following for a while, and I've been a part of for almost a decade since I could first figure out how to use a computer in this way. I've been downloading stuff offline for. I remember I used to download CDs and music off IRC.
Oh my!
I don't even know if I could even remember how to get on IRC, let alone anything of what channels to get in and anything like that. But what do you think of piracy? We'll start this off with just straight up downloading movies and piracy, and we'll kind of move on to like IP law and what the government's doing with all that. But what do you think of piracy? I mean, do you think copying is theft? I mean, it's just rearranging ones and zeros.
Wow. You had to ask a social engineer about piracy. Well, I'll have to say, like, you have to look at everything from a money perspective, because we're a society that's based off of politics and money. Actually, the world's based off of resources and funds. So when it comes to intellectual property, which folks are calling IP, other than Internet Protocol, that's a booming industry. They're actually taking folks from my career field, which is information security, or for me, industrial control systems and critical information protection and national security. They're taking folks from my career field and putting them into IP because now that's a big moneymaker. Hollywood, and I've actually worked with several accounts in Hollywood in protecting of intellectual property. And I don't have a problem with protecting someone that goes out there and makes a really awesome movie. And I don't have a problem with like certain aspects of that. However, it comes to a certain point where you always have to have that balance and power that, you know, makes folks in Hollywood innovative when it comes to their production and art as well as their security. So I actually kind of think it's a cat and mouse game, and, you know, I'm a part of certain industries that appreciate the different factors of that. But I would like to say that it's best to protect intellectual property for someone that protects something and creates something. However, it doesn't make any sense for an institution to overcharge you for things that have been out there for several years and you have no access to it. And actually, I'm sorry, but I have to say CBS has locked down a show called The Unit, which was written by Eric Haney, the founding member, one of the founding members of Delta Force. And you can't even go out there and stream that and get it, and it's been off the air forever. So I think there's certain things that need to be changed when it comes to intellectual property, because it's ridiculous to have things like that being sequestered or deleted or not available. Even to paying customers like myself that pay, what, $200-$300 a month for cable, and they can't access shows like that. Companies need to realize they need to make things accessible. Otherwise, there'll be people like me and smarter than me that will hack it and delete it or ruin you.
Right, and that's one of the main points is why I download stuff, because first off, I it's the internet. We've got, almost unlimited bandwidth in this country, and I have to sit there and I have to drive 20 minutes to the store and then pay a bunch of extra money. I just want the show. I don't want the extras. I don't want any of that
It makes
crap.
me so frustrated, because you know what? You bring up a big point, and I take this personally, which folks should probably pay attention to this. I'm trying to watch Person of Interest, okay? It has my boy in it. I can't remember his name, but he played Jesus in that movie that was very popular in the Midwest. James Callow, whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, he's like a former Delta Force guy, and he's in CBS. I think it's CBS. Obviously, it's CBS because they locked down the unit. But I can't find that show to catch up, so I can get involved with their show, and their show is about marketing. So they're actually they're obviously not involved with the internet.
Right,
I'm kind of wondering what CBS is doing, because if I paid that much in this, that, and the other for what I do, like in cable, I mean, come on, I can't pay any more in cable. I can't pay more in internet rights, and I can't pay more to CBS, but I can't see that show. So you limit me to see that show, I will find it on the line, and, I'm trying to be a professional guy, but if I can't rent that show, I can't buy that show, then I'm going to find that show on the internet, and I'll find it. I have no problem with that. There's nobody that I can't find on the internet. I'll find everyone.
And that's always the answer. Everything's on the internet. I don't think there's anything that's not on the internet. Well, and what do you think of this Def Cab website that's not Death Cab, like Death Cab for a Cutie, Def Cad. Doing
I know that
the 3D,
band, by the way.
Doing the 3D printed gun, and the heroes of the day are the Pirate Bay, putting hosting everything.
Okay.
What should people, even though it's kind of a bad marker, and the government's going to see you going to these websites and downloading stuff, and your ISP is going to know it, do you think people should still be going to these websites and supporting them, just even if they're not going to want to download something illegally? Do you think that these different organizations that are hosting this good information, like WikiLeaks, and I know the Pirate Bay hosts they have all the Paladin Press books on the Pirate Bay. You can't buy those anymore. People went around buying those up and burn them. But do you think it's a good idea for people to go and support these websites and keep these groups going? And do you think that's effective run against the government?
Well, I mean, that's a huge opinion. I mean, when it comes to organizations that have their certain interests, I actually feel, since I served my country as a veteran, and I'm a disabled veteran, by the way, I support the fact that we're free. And if you want to go and do whatever you want to do, then you can do that. I mean, as long as you're not hurting other folks, then there's no problem. Because I think the majority of problems stem from parentship. If you have a child that's raised a certain way, it goes back to parenting. It has nothing to do with the internet or computer or any type of other device, because we can go back other years and look at the statistics, and it's all about where you were or how you were raised.
Now, that's a guaranteed libertarian right there. When you turn an internet pirating question into parenting, it's like I think I'm on the Free Domain Network or whatever with Stefan Molinex. Because I mean,
I'm hacking your system right now.
No, and that's true. That's definitely a big libertarian voluntarist standpoint. Is peaceful parenting and everything else, and that's
I'm actually true. Thank you so much for I'm sorry. Thank you so much for pointing that out, because you know what, all this time everyone's asked me, where do I lie? You're a Republican. They think I'm a Republican because I look like a Republican. I don't think so. Oh, you're a Democrat because you voted for Obama. No, I don't think so. I'm a libertarian because I serve my country, and I realize that we can be efficient in how we do things in this country. And it's not that hard. I mean, we can eliminate the lobbyists that pay it was $700 million that went into CISPA. So I can pull the companies out of that profile and essentially make their life somewhat challenging, maybe. But that's not what I'm here to do. What I'm here to do is actually to help you guys in your your broadcasting network to understand the fact that we're moving into some very crazy times, and there's no reason for anybody that says I don't know anything about a computer to be eliminated from this, because it has nothing to do with a computer. It has to do with your rights as a civilian in the United States of America.
Do we have a chance, though? I mean, we're talking about a society, and I admit, guilty as charged, that is so addicted to this technology and the fun and the entertainment value and the ease and the laziness of all this, that they just don't even bother to look at the potential negatives. They don't care about it. Do we have a chance if they don't?
We have a chance because they haven't cared about it, because it hasn't gotten to the red factor yet. And when I say the red factor, it means that their North Korean missiles aren't pointed at their systems. Okay, so what we're looking at right now is that the fact that from every script kiddie to social engineer to every hacker and cracker out there, I mean, I'm nobody. I'm not as good as anybody out there. All I know is from the experience that I've seen. And the experience that I've seen is the fact that we really need to make sure that the folks that are in Congress, the Senate, the folks that we elect actually have the appreciation for the technology that's out there, because we're 3 seconds away. Do you guys remember the atomic clock?
Oh, yeah.
I personally don't, but I know about it, yes.
Okay. Remember the countdown of the atomic clock, and everybody had to go and the position. Okay. The Y2K guys, right? The Y2K guys didn't get that. There's no fear factor in the generations that are younger than me. I mean, even though I look like I'm 20, I'm 41.
Well, it was all Cold War at the time. It was all Cold War.
I'm a Cold War kid.
And I am too for the most part. And I think that there was a fear, a finger on the pulse. It could be any moment fear that went with the Cold War. That it's like the Soviet Union collapsed, and all of a sudden the potential for nuclear annihilation seemed to just disappear from people's concern.
And that's called even propaganda.
And even today,
and brainwashing, pretty much like you're supposed to eat meat and you shouldn't. It's called brainwashing, and it's propaganda. We do it. It's called psyops. There's a division that I used to work for, psycholog, and it has. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, not at all.
No. I just had to jump into this because I'm a security purist. So I had to jump into this because much of security, what we do in a nation state. When I say nation state, that means any type of organization, U.S., others, whatever. The nation state has to inflict a certain campaign, and that campaign may be psychological warfare. They tell you what to eat, not to eat, how to vote, not to vote, when you get up in the morning, when you go to bed at night. So you have to watch out for the fact that we are now embarking on a cyber world. It's like the undiscovered country or whatever, if you're a Star Trek fan or whatever.
To piggyback on that is you think of the food pyramid. Where did the food pyramid come from? It came from lobbyists. It came from we wanting to sell more wheat and bread. And then the government built this pretty little thing, and they've been pushing it in schools for years. So the second you think of the internet, and you got Facebook and everybody else controlling it, well, it's if we were doing that back in what was that, the 40s, 50s?
Do not get me started on the food pyramid. Turn that upside down. You do not need to eat meat, okay? People, listen, I lost like 70 pounds and 10 sizes by juicing because I eat vegetables. Remember when Mom was like, eat your vegetables, and she cooked them? We're
not
wrong.
Talking Major League Baseball kind of juicing here, I'm sure.
No. No, I've experienced that too, and no, it's not the same. Dude, I was in Nevada. What you need to do is like really just juice your vegetables. That's a different topic, but anyway, the food pyramid turned upside down. Remember, like the fact that any institution is gonna like harness their knowledge at that time and they'll push it down, and it's irrelevant now because we in the information age change technology like every 3 minutes. Okay, so we need as a people to come together and understand the fact that we are on a new domain, and that's the internet, and we have other physical things to deal with.
Do you believe that anonymous, not necessarily as a whole, but are there sections of Anonymous that have any power whatsoever or can be maybe misconstrued as powerful or effective?
I would not go and say no comment because I'm a cowboy, but I've had to actually go up against those guys, but I never wanted to, so I'm conflicted. I like them and respect the fact that they are very technologically sound. However, some of their targets have been places that I protected, and so I had to go after a few of them, but I don't want to go after them because I actually think that they are the guys that are trying to like promote security awareness. And one of my colleagues, Kevin Mitnick, which was the most wanted hacker in the world in the decade past, is the fact that it's a balance. I mean, I'm a hacker, It's different for us because we want to ensure that we have freedoms in the future. Just like Christopher Columbus discovered America, we're discovering cybersecurity and we're discovering space. So we are the guys that actually go in a different frontier. Folks don't understand it. We, control it. You don't want bad guys to control it. You don't want good guys to control it. You want to make sure it's fair for everybody. So in cyberspace, we need to make sure that we have the right people in place to manage those aspects of it because we don't want people's liberties impeded. And we do not want anybody to feel that they're going to be hacked because they don't have the skills, in those situations.
All right. And kind of a little bit of what we talked about before we really started the show is we kind of mentioned a little bit is that the government really isn't what we think it is. It's with the amount of alphabet agencies out there, and people don't even understand how many of them are and how the ones that nobody seems to know about but are there. And I
know 11.
Well, I know like a lot of the agencies I worked around or watched when I was in the military.
Yeah, you're a Kirtland, right?
Yeah, I've never heard of these places before. So, and you Google them, and nobody else knows anything about them. They don't have a website, nothing. So, there's a lot of alphabet organizations out there, and some of them are more powerful than you could possibly imagine. They're doing things that nobody knows about, and you can't follow. The news will never talk about. I mean, is that pretty much one of the biggest fears? I mean, because like you said, you've had security clearances and work with some pretty underground stuff. I mean, those are pretty much the biggest things to fear out there, right? Are these kind of more roguish agencies?
No, you're right. You're right. There's agencies out there that deal with extreme scenarios, and although I've been witness to like certain things in that aspect, I'd like to think that every person out there has a certain reaction to a certain government that will pay attention to them. So, I have to say though, when they changed my career field in the military, from electronic warfare to cyber warfare, it made me actually pay attention to what's going on. And before that, I didn't care. I mean, I'm a Midwest boy from Indiana. I'm a farm boy, a farm boy with a pocket knife, but yet, I have to fight off, Taliban and Chinese and Russians and Bosnians and stuff. I mean, I've been through like 9 wars. So, you have to look at like the face, like where our battlefield is. So our battlefield is no longer on the prairies of the country. Our battlefield is no longer on the jungles of Vietnam. Our battlefield is on cybersecurity. So how am I going to raise an army to oppose that? And how are we going to raise militias to defend us from our own nation state as well as the aggressors? So how do we do that? I mean, I need people.
Are you saying people shouldn't be running into gun stores and buying guns, that they should be running into to colleges and taking computer classes?
No, not computer classes.
Well.
No, don't. No, do not get the perspective of an IT guy, because I'm sorry, I'm a security guy. I'm not an IT guy. Does that make sense?
Well, okay. Well, I guess that was a wrong way to phrase it. I guess don't run into gun stores and buy a gun. Run into the arms of a fellow hacker and learn how to hack.
Exactly.
All right.
I would suggest starting with the Electronic Frontier Foundation and EFF guys I met like 5 years back at DEF CON.
Yeah, I know that
San Francisco.
The EFF, those guys
do
some great stuff.
IndySec, B-Side, there are security groups here in Indianapolis that I cannot wait to talk to. I just found out like last week from one of the consultant agencies that are very prominent here in Indianapolis. There are tons of security groups here in Indianapolis, and it's actually not too late to talk to those folks.
Yeah, no, definitely. We're definitely planning on reaching out to a lot of the more underground anon groups as we can. But we're gonna go ahead and start wrapping up now. We're definitely gonna have to have you back on, because there's a lot of stuff we can dig through with you on just all kinds of stuff.
I should be a host or like a co-anchor, like co-anchor, just like the guy that like brings the mic.
Well, we can't be serious and smart all the time. Sometimes we just do absolute. Well, sometimes we eat food.
You know what? I have like 11 names.
I still haven't got a chance. I'm always 2 episodes behind on listening to this show, and I guess I need to get caught up, because I've had several comments now about our food eating episode that kind of came out of nowhere.
What's up with the food eating episode?
We were at his. We recorded an episode at his parents' house, and they had a whole bunch of dessert, like snack cakes and stuff that were like gourmet. And we just started piecing on them on the air, and before you knew it, we're cramming our mouth full of these things, talking like this. And
well, sometimes sometimes we just never turn off. I never turn off the recorder, and so when we start doing stupid stuff, I'm like, "Oh, I'll cut that out," and then we get through it, and we're like, "Wait, that was actually really funny." So,
or at least it was to us.
Why not?
People listening to the show are like, "What the f?"
It was definitely good having you on.
What the f? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but
it's all right.
You no longer have to say what the f. It's called Whiskey Tango Foxtrot.
There you go, Whiskey Tango Foxtrot.
All right, we're trying to be politically correct here. I'm sorry. I mean, dispose,
Now, and I do want to say one thing. Love having guests like you on, where you're a professional. You're not just some Libertarian Party county leadership, or just some old washed up writer out in Shelby County.
I'm not sure if Shelby County's that, but
those are personal assaults right there.
but
I'm going to tell everybody right now, if you guys donate money to me, I can buy a studio, and I can have more professional guest because I'm pulling people into my apartment. It's kind of like, But no, that's fine. That's fine. But no, we definitely love having you on. We'll definitely have to have you come back.
Thank you.
So there's a couple things we want to tell you guys about that are local, coming up, things we want to push, make you go to. Indy Pride, our big Pride festival is coming up.
Yeah. Circle City and Pride is going to be Saturday, June 8th, down at the Veterans Park, American Legion Park, downtown Indianapolis, and
just go to just Google Indy Pride and you'll
absolutely
find the website.
Circle City and Pride. We will be participating in the parade that morning, and we definitely would love to have a bunch of participants. So. Please come down and feel free to get in line and walk through the parade with us. That is always a wonderful time. You want to talk about some fun-ass people watching, Pride is it, and especially, it's probably more fun people-watching wise to watch the parade than be in it, but I'll tell you what, it's always a real good time to walk through the parade and give support to a good cause, and then we will have a booth. Actually, we'll have 2 booths at Pride this year. Good location up towards the front up by the stage. It's going to be really hard to miss us if you're walking around the festival at all. If you're interested, please stop by to get some more information on the party. Or if you are a libertarian or consider yourself a libertarian and would like to actually help with the party rather than just learning some information, like I said, we're definitely looking for people to walk in the parade. And you can get information on that from creatingmaya.com or the Uncontrollables.com because she'll have that stuff posted. And we will also be looking for some workers for our booth throughout the day. And either way, even if you're not going to come down and support the party, come down and support Pride and have a great, great time because that is a wonderful festival.
Or come down and just support me because I'll be there and I'll be in the parade. And maybe.
You need to be.
If I can't look fabulous enough, I'm not going to do it. I won't even show up to Pride.
I need your ass looking fabulous that day. I need the support. I need fabulous Maya.
You get me some assless leather chaps, I will be there.
Have you seen the picture of me wearing assless leather chaps?
Do you have them?
As a vest?
Do you have them?
It was funny.
No. Just answer the question. Do you have them?
No, I don't. Here's why.
Okay, hold on, everybody. If you can give me a pair of assless chaps, that is what I will wear to Pride in the parade with the Libertarian Party of Indiana. If you want to see that happen, get with me. Get me some assless chaps. Yeah, leather's good. I'd rather have like latex.
I was on a date. Second date with a girl. And we went down to go see the guitar exhibit at the Idle Jordan. It is a sure. It's your exercise partner. Anyway, so we're on our second date. We went down to the Idle Jordan to watch a guitars exhibit and see Kurt Cobain's guitar and Johnny Cash's guitar and all that kind of stuff. Well, at the Idle Jordan, they have these different exhibits that you can walk through and like take pictures and like be part of, and they're like interactive kind of exhibits. And there was this one like Western kind of setup, and they had a whole bunch of old Western clothes there, and that you could put on to take pictures of. And before I started digging through the clothes, I was like, I need some assless chaps. I hope there's assless chaps in here. Looked through, couldn't find what I was looking for, and I picked up this thing. I didn't know what it was, and I put it on my shoulders as a vest.
Oh, no.
And I'm standing there, and I'm posing ridiculously like I do, and having pictures taken of me. And one of the museum workers walks out of one of these behind-the-scenes doors and just stops immediately and looks at me, and she goes, "Oh, my God, he's got the chaps on as a vest."
Oh, you are so special.
And I'll tweet a picture of that for everyone. It's pretty swell.
I don't really think there's a whole lot else coming up. Oh, always a constant reminder, I have 3 people now total, me and 2 other people, going with me to the riding with me out to D.C. for the Adam Kokesh Armed Civil Disobedience March. I need to stop saying Adam Kokesh because it's not really just his. He just happens to be the one organizing and pushing it. But I have 2 other people. I could probably fit one more easily to help split all the gas costs because, as you all know, I'm broke. I know if more people want to go, we'd like the convoy. We'd like to take 2 or 3 cars from Indiana and go out there. I'm going to be the techno machine because that's what I'll be blaring. I downloaded some new mixes, so we're going to be blaring techno at horribly high decibels with lots of bass all the way there at extremely high speeds. So be prepared for that. So yeah, if you want to go with us, if you want to travel out there with us, or maybe if you're driving through from another state and you're listening to this, I don't imagine that being a possibility. But and you're driving through here, we can all meet up. We can convoy out there. There's safety in numbers, you know.
Don't call me for bail money. I'm broke.
No, not you, but I'm trying to line up a couple people I can call for bail money in case it's extravagant because we will be breaking federal law.
Is it going to be in the middle of the night? Call Spangle.
Yeah, I'll call Spangle. Hey, Spangle's broke. I ain't going to call Spangle.
No, just call him to wake him up.
There are some tips I'd like to mention considering Adam Kokas just got arrested. Write down pertinent information on your arm with permanent marker before you do marches where you may end up getting arrested. That way that they, even if you're, no matter what happens, they take all your stuff, you have all your relevant information on your arm. Or they hit you in the head with a baton, you can't remember stuff. It's on your arm in big, bold, black letters, and other people can see it. I think that's really about the little message we got to leave here for all you guys to tell you about what's going on. We are planning already for the 2014 state convention for the Libertarian Party.
Yes.
If you have any information or you want to help out or anything like that, go ahead and contact Dan Drexler, the state party chair, and give him any ideas or any hookups you have. If you happen to have a convention center you want to give us for free, we would love you forever and ever.
We may, we're toying with the idea this year of breaking with tradition. Traditionally, Libertarian Party's conventions have always been north one year, Indianapolis even year, south one year, Indianapolis on an even year, back and forth. And toying with the idea of not necessarily following the tradition and going to Indianapolis this year and actually just picking wherever in the state seems to be the best fit. So we've got a committee looking into that. Not sure it may be Indianapolis, but there's no guarantee that it will be. And so we are open to suggestions.
Yeah, and as always, I'm open to money, to gifts of some sort. If you guys want to give me money, you guys want to give me equipment or anything else, please do. I don't want your tips. I don't care about your opinion. Unless there's money or something behind it, then I will listen to you all day long. I'm becoming such a woman. Other than that, I think we're good. Again, thanks for listening. Thanks for being here. Find me on Facebook, Twitter. For some odd reason, I'm on SoundCloud, and I'm getting emails, and people are subscribing to me on SoundCloud all the time, and I haven't done anything on it. So find me on SoundCloud, too. Imager. What else am I on? I'm on everything. Then you go ahead and go find Josh.
J.A. Featherstone on Twitter. You can find me on Facebook. I'm out there, but I'm not quite as out there as everyone else.
I mean, I'm way out there. Woo! A little shout out from Ichigo. Meow, 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 meow. Little black cat. He's destroying things tonight. He's going to eat all Chris's cords, and no one will ever be able to record another podcast ever again. Emily Bang says hi. She waves. She's going to be getting a tattoo here very
What are you getting a tat of, Emily?
She is, as most, any of you have ever met me or seen some of my pictures online and paid attention, you've seen my wedding band. It's tattooed on, and it says Amor Vincit Omnia, which is Latin for Love Conquers All. Emily.
Oh, that's so cute,
It's getting, you know what's really cute is it's the greatest pickup tool in the world because they're like, oh, that's cute. You're committed. I'm like, I was, she wasn't.
Oh, shit. Instant bedroom fun.
Oh, yes. And then it's like, well, what does it say? Does it say her name? Like, no, it's Amor Vincit Omnia. That's Latin for Love Conquers All except my marriage.
Right. Right. There was one thing we found out it couldn't conquer. By the way, would you like me to conquer you?
You know what? I've actually betted quite a few girls because of this tattoo. And that's kind of the reason that Emily's going to be getting it as well.
How romantic.
She'll be getting the exact same tattoo in the exact same
place. Are you
place.
trying to bed some girls too? Love conquers all.
We actually, remember, I'm a polyamorous, pansexual, transgender woman.
Polyamorous, transsexual.
No. Polyamorous,
pansexual, transgender woman.
Yes.
Polyamorous,
polyamorous, pansexual.
Can I have some more mead?
You mind if you get drunk? No. So that means me and Emily, we I don't want to really say this on air by going to if we find a nice little hot piece out there, there's a girl with this just beautiful bubble butt and these nice legs.
What the shit is going on right now?
We're gonna double team her and take her home, and that's
who wears
a
the
fact
strap
of life. Well, I mean, it depends. I mean, how long have we been going? Well, I might need a hollow one because it's just been. I can only perform for so many hours.
I've heard how small your pecker is.
How small?
Yes.
We have plans for you, Josh. And one day you're going to wake up and you're going to be very sore in some places you're not usually sore. And it's
So
going
I
to
have
be
to
because
sleep
of me.
through it?
Well, no, but you won't remember it.
The sounds of love.
Wait, well, who did you hear that says I had a small...
Facebook.
Have you been talking to a certain couple?
No.
Okay. Well, it's not true. For anybody else listening, and hopefully my parents are listening to this episode.
Holy crap.
It is definitely
Hopefully my parents aren't listening to this
definitely
episode.
not small, and it can be used very
Small,
very
such a
well.
relative term.
Well, okay, it's small compared to
Holy shit.
Ron Jeremy.
Well, wow.
What was that?
It's not small.
What's here? Emily just had 2 teeth pulled just so her mouth can take it. So we're gonna go ahead and end with that bombshell. We'll
this
see you guys
episode is
next
now
week,
over.
and I'm cutting this off. Bye.